I'm Jay from the Kubz, guys. Welcome back to another episode of us watching scary animations. I already got a few on deck for this episode, so no more talking. We're just gonna check it out. If you guys cool with that, you down with that? Everybody get ready and buckle up, because here we go. You guys like how fast I did that intro? It's because I'm really excited for today's episode because I already have all the videos lined up. The first one is called My Creepy Roommate from Craigslist. This roommate better be super creepy.
Max was a new college transfer student looking to rent out a room on Craigslist. Fortunately, he found a nice 2-bedroom apartment for cheap rent and close to campus, so it was the ideal spot.
Okay,
the girl who lived there was named Beth and she was 29. She was tall with jet black hair and wore pale makeup. She seemed nice, although a little quiet, but she decided to let Max move in. During their first night living together, both of them went out for pizza, and that's when Max could tell there was something a little bit off with Beth. Throughout dinner, she kept telling him how much he looks like Shia LaBeouf. Max didn't know what to say, so he just shrugged it off with a thanks, even though he looks nothing like him. When they got back home, Beth asked if he wanted to see her room. Her walls were covered in posters of Shia LaBeouf. She even had printed out photos of him all over her mirror. She owned all his movies, and Max didn't know what to make out of it. The entire night, Beth had been saying how much he looks like him, and now it's obvious that she's obsessed with the guy. A few weeks passed, and they never really saw each other that much. Beth would come home from work and practically run into her room and spend the whole night there. She had this creepy, high-pitched giggle, and Max would hear her giggling through the walls all night.
God, I'd be so annoyed if I heard somebody just giggling like... It can't be that funny, okay?
What the hell could she possibly be doing? Occasionally, Beth would come out and talk for like 2 minutes, and she would always be slurring her words, so Max suspected that she was drinking a lot.
Or maybe she was on hard drugs.
Sometimes Beth wouldn't say anything, and she would just stand in the hallway and watch him in the living room. Max would turn around to see her and say, "Hello, Beth." And then there would be this long, awkward pause while she gave out her creepy, high-pitched giggle. It was uncomfortable being around Beth, and she gave him
Oops, sorry.
chills.
I didn't mean to pause that.
Max woke up at around 2 a.m. because he heard what sounded like the front door being
got
unlocked.
sleepy.
He came out of his bedroom and all the lights were off, but he could still see Beth standing at the front door. She had her face against it, and she was turning the lock back and forth over and over again. And every time she turned the bolt, she mumbled Max's name.
Okay.
Max Barker.
Max, I'm so horny, Max.
Barker. Seeing her standing in the dark mumbling his name really freaked Max out, and it doesn't help that she kind of looks like the bigger version of the girl from The Ring. Max quietly went back to his room and tried to sleep but couldn't and just stayed up the entire night. Another night, he was watching Gladiator and she stumbled out of her room and turned on the living room light, which forced him to pause the movie. She then asked if Max wanted to hear about her ex-boyfriend. It was so random.
She looks like she's gonna be like, "Do you
sure,
love
and then
me?"
awkwardly sat back to listen to her. 10 minutes into her story and she was so riled up. She was screaming at the top of her lungs about their breakup. Max was worried that the neighbors were gonna call the cops and she wasn't listening when Max was asking her to lower the volume. Amidst all of her screaming, one thing she said really freaked him out. She was in such a fit and yelled, "I'll slit his throat." Suddenly, Max had no idea what this girl was capable of. She was practically a stranger, and everything he had seen was becoming alarmingly disturbing. After a few more minutes, she told him thanks for listening, and she started doing her giggle again. Max got out of there pretty fast, and he had a pretty unsettled feeling about being in the house with her, and what's worse was that there was no lock on his bedroom door. He pushed the edge of his dresser in front of it to act as a little barricade.
That's what I used to do when I came home with my report card, or when I knew that I was gonna have bad grades on my report card and my parents were gonna get it. I just closed my door and I was like, "I'll just push this dresser to the front of the door, lay down on my bed, and wait till they fall asleep, then I'll go eat my dinner."
Max woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of his dresser scraping against the floor. Beth was pushing the door open.
Damn,
he
she's
turned
strong.
on the light, shouting at her to stop, and he could see her through the opening of the door. She was so drunk and had this insane look in her eyes. Max yelled at her to go to bed.
Love me, Max.
He heard her walk back to her room.
Give it to me.
Again, there was no way he was
Turn
able
my
to
nipples
fall
like
back
I
to
did
sleep.
those doorknobs
The next
earlier.
morning when Max went out into the hallway, his heart dropped. He saw one of her steak knives on the floor by his door.
Steak knife.
All he could think about was how she was saying
Butter
she would
knife.
slit that guy's throat. Max confronted her about it, and she said she doesn't remember trying to push his door open. She says she doesn't even remember telling him about her ex. Max had enough. His lease was month to month, so he found a new spot and moved out. Not long after, Beth contacted him again. Max was at the movies, and when he turned on his phone, to his shock, he received over 40 text messages that she had sent him over the past 2 hours.
Normally I would be like 43, that's okay, but 44, that's a lot of text.
They were all just insane texts that ranged from everything between "Hi, how are you?" to "I hate you." Max never responded, and he never heard from Beth again. However, he always wondered if he hadn't set his dresser in front of his door that night, would she have quietly come into his room and slit?
Oh yeah, just like that.
throat.
Just like that. Looking like Michael Jackson with a knife, straight up. For the next video, I have True Home Alone Stories Episode 1. Next, we're going to do Episode 2 back-to-back. You guys like that? That back-to-back stuff? No more talking. Let's just do this.
It was very common for me to be home alone at night, as I only lived with my dad, and his shifts would constantly shift from days to nights.
Nobody cares.
This happened around the time my dad was doing night shifts. I would stay up really late on these nights watching movies. It's always taken me a long time to fall asleep, so after turning off the TV to go to sleep, I probably laid there for a good half hour.
I always gotta sleep with the TV
I
on.
had a toy fall over in my toy closet. It was nothing too suspicious, but it still creeped me out. But then the doorknob to my closet started to wiggle, until finally unlocking the door.
It's your mind. It's your imagination,
hid
bud!
under my covers, not making a sound. It was strangely quiet for a good 2 minutes, so I finally peeked my head out of the covers. There was a figure standing next to my bed, looking down at me. I screamed at the top of my lungs and began hugging the wall behind me. The figure looked out the window and then just walked away out of the room. I stayed in that position for like an hour before checking if he was really gone. The front door was left wide open, so it seemed he had left. I didn't get a minute of sleep that night.
This dude looked like he was on like 8 bags of heroin. But like I said, True Home Alone Stories Episode 2. So let's see what this is about.
This story is from the point of view of a 16-year-old girl.
Okay.
I used to have a boy living next door to me that was obsessed with me. His name was Joey. Every time I would go outside, Joey would come outside as well, as if he were watching me through his windows waiting for me.
He is watching you. There's no denying it.
He was 17 and very weird, and he didn't seem to have any friends, as he was always home. I tried to give every sign possible that I didn't like this guy, but he wouldn't get the message.
She's just like giving him the finger.
So I had to finally just tell him one day that I don't like him and to leave me alone. The look on his face that day is something that won't leave me.
Look like he about to go Super Saiyan.
It was the kind of angry look a toddler gives their parents when they can't have a toy.
Wait, they don't say that when they're about to go Super Saiyan.
Much more disturbing.
They just go Super Saiyan.
One night, my parents left me to watch the house. I was working on a school project when I felt my bed shift a little bit. I looked under my bed.
Whoa!
I screamed as I saw Joey laying under my bed.
Bro, that was loud!
I ran away while he tried to crawl out from under my bed.
Why is he crawling out like a freaking zombie?
The bell at least 10 times, telling his parents about it when they opened the door. Joey never came out of my house, so I called the police. His parents begged me not to, but I ignored them. The police found him still in my room and arrested him.
Still under the bed too?
Apparently, he admitted this wasn't
sheets?
the first time he had hid under my bed. They also found pictures of me scattered across his room.
Ugh.
The most disturbing one was of me sleeping, and it was taken from inside my room.
Why do I feel like people always take pictures of people sleeping? Like, what is the fascination with that? You know, people got drool going on, their eyes are closed, you know, they're probably snoring all loud, like, why would you want to remember that in picture form? People looking ugly and nasty and ghoulish when you take a picture of them sleeping. You know what? Whatever. That's in the mind of a sicko, so they probably like sick things like that. Next video of today's episode is called Home Invasion Horror Story. And I almost got choked up there. I was like, Home Invasion Horror Story? Am I still going through puberty?
It was a cold, foggy evening
I'm a grown
when I
man.
contacted a close friend of mine to stay at my place for the night. Both of us were only 10 years old at the time, and my parents were often at work until midnight, so I was usually alone with nothing to do except watching a television show or reading a book.
I just gotta say that the animation in this video is so crispy. I gotta give it a mwah.
My friend Alex had agreed to come over and brought a game of Monopoly to pass some of the time.
Cool.
I also asked if he was interested in going to explore an abandoned subway station 3 miles away. He seemed excited at first, so we planned to go on the trip.
Those are the biggest glasses I've ever seen. This dude can see into the future.
Dated back to the mid-1920s and became abandoned in 1932 after the market crash in 1929.
Your mom was abandoned in 1929.
I was very fascinated about its history, but never got the chance to go inside after my parents had warned me not to enter. As I quietly slept in my bed, I heard what sounded like a gunshot coming from the forest behind the house. Both of us woke up, frightened after what we had heard, and I told my friend not to worry, as hunters tend to go into the forest on frequent occasions, but when I checked the time, it was 11:39 p.m. This seemed very
that's not hunting hour, that's scary hours.
Hunters only came into the forest between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. I looked at Alex and decided to get out of my bed, intending to look through the window and spot for anyone in the forest.
Good idea.
The darkness clouded my vision, so I was unable to see anyone in the forest. I turned around and looked at Alex again, when suddenly I heard the front door squeak open.
Ooh!
Chills went down my spine. Both of us quietly moved to the bathroom, locked the door, and kept the light off.
He's like, bro, no.
It was the only safe place in the house. Both of us were terrified as we desperately tried to keep as calm as we could. We heard footsteps getting louder and louder until they stopped in front of the bathroom door. And then this is when the most terrifying sound forced my heart to almost burst.
Oh!
I screamed as the person chopped the door to pieces.
What is this, The
It was
Shining?
pitch black inside the room, making it hard to find the vent, and by the time I spotted the vent, the person behind the door had made a hole big enough for us to see him.
Oh my god, that mask is terrifying.
The man adorned black leather and was wearing a plague doctor mask.
I hate those masks.
I scurried back to the vent,
those
but it was
masks
too
are
high
so
above
scary.
the floor for us to reach it. So Alex told me to go first because he was the strongest. He lifted me up on his shoulders,
no way you're getting up there,
allowing
my
me
guy.
to open the vent and crawl inside.
Wait, what about him?
When I looked at the door again, the man had managed to fit his arm through the hole and reached for the lock.
No
I quickly
freaking
grabbed
way.
Alex's hand, but struggled to pull him up into the vent.
Oh, no!
I shouted, and began going after him. I pursued the figure until I was led to the abandoned subway deep within the forest. It was chilly and foggy, meaning that I could only see objects within a range of 5 or 6 yards. Inside the subway was a pool of freezing cold water. It was so dark that I couldn't see anything. I had to rely on listening to the screams from Alex and track the source.
This is actually disturbing.
As I slowly walked through the subway, I was now struggling to breathe under the intense stress and fear of the situation. I called, but there was no response. I continued walking through the water until the exit was no longer visible.
I thought he was gonna sound like
I was
Alex.
now experiencing a massive
But he's like,
panic
hey,
attack.
Alex,
I had
get
lost
over
track
here,
of
man.
Alex, and I had no idea where I was or how to get out. Where are you, Alex?
Why does this seem so unbelievable? Wait, that's it? On October 19, 1983, Alex was confirmed dead after he was found inside the ticket office hanging from the ceiling? Holy crap! Oh, that is giving me tears in my eyes! His closest friend remains missing. Oh my goodness! Guys, look at the goosebumps on my arm. Look at the goosebumps on my arm. Oh, thank you to Spectre for the great fictional story. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Oh my goodness. Fictional story. Give me my goosebumps back. Story. Give me my goosebumps back. Next video of today's episode is another one of those scary vacation stories. So let's rub our hands together and let's get in the mood.
During my holiday, I spent about 3 weeks in Japan. I arrived pretty late, so I couldn't check into the hotel that I initially booked. So I booked the cheapest hotel that I could find nearby. Aesthetically, it was quite nice, but it did have easy
Japan
access
is
to the
just
building,
nice aesthetically
meaning anyone
overall.
could come in and go
Best
to any
place
room
ever,
as they
hands down.
please. Plus, there was no security in sight. After arriving in my room, I ordered some food and watched some TV. I was still pretty jet-lagged from the flight, so I started to get ready for bed. As I was falling asleep, I felt the urge to double-check the door just to see if it was locked. I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Right.
About 5 minutes after I checked the door, I heard footsteps outside. Initially, I thought it was someone leaving their room, but the footsteps started to pick up speed. The sound started getting louder and louder, and I started to freak out.
I don't like the sound of that.
All of a sudden, the sound stopped.
Good.
I looked at the light shining through the bottom of my door,
Ooh!
and there was a shadow of a person.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, guys. You know how there's always that little space from the door and the floor? Every time there's a light on at night, I always look down and I'm like, I better not see 2 feet like that, just like that. I better not see 2 feet just standing right there because I wouldn't know what to do. What do you want me to do? Put on my big boy voice and be like, hey, whose feet are those? Whose athlete's feet are those? You better get away or I'm gonna do something. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not that kind of person.
At first, I thought it was room service, but it was too late for that. Or maybe it was some drunk idiot who was at the wrong room. As soon as I switched my light on, the shadow disappeared. I was confused, but I reluctantly went back to bed.
I don't know about that one.
That's when I suddenly heard scratching coming from my door.
Oh, they're back!
So I immediately turned my light on and shouted, "Who's there?"
Who's there?
After a moment
You better
of
go
silence,
away,
I heard the footsteps
or I'm gonna be
slowly
very
fade
angry.
away. At this point,
outta
I was
here with
thinking
that.
it could be some kids messing around, so I got up, opened the door, and peeked my head outside.
Why would you do that?
I glanced
You're just
in
asking
both
to die.
directions down the dark and slim hallways. That's when my heart stopped. A man emerged from the darkness and ran erratically towards me.
Where?
His face was contorted as he screamed, and I could
Oh,
see
there he
he was
is.
holding a knife in his right
Oh,
hand.
no way!
As he got
Close the
closer, I could
door!
see him more clearly. He had
Close the
disgusting
fucking
long,
door!
dirty hair. His clothes were ripped, and he had cuts and bruises all over.
What
I
the
quickly
heck?
slammed my door and pressed against it,
Dude looking like the
praying that the
Ayuwoki.
man would just go away. After what felt like hours, I finally gathered my courage and looked through the peephole. He was gone. I let out a sigh of relief and checked the peephole again. My heart started pumping faster than ever before. He was right in front of the door. He was wearing a maniacal smile on his face.
That guy doesn't look
and
Japanese.
All of a sudden, he raised his knife and yelled, "I'm gonna kill you!" I jumped back and kept my eyes locked on the bottom of the door as I backed up to my bed. I grabbed my phone and started dialing the police. As I raised the phone to my ear, I saw that the shadow was gone. When the police arrived, I tried to explain what happened, and they checked the security cameras. They almost immediately recognized the man. He had been doing this to people for a while now, and the police had been trying to track him down for months. After a long night of no sleep, I finally arrived at the right hotel that I had booked initially in Tokyo. That creepy guy was still on my mind, but I thought the chances of him being here were pretty slim, so I didn't bother locking my door that night.
Why would you not
At
lock your door?
12:05 a.m., I woke up to a big bang next to me. I turned around to see the same guy passed out on the floor, with a knife in hand. I was in
With
shock.
blood on the tip?
How did
Just
he
the
find
tip?
me? I quickly ran out of the room and locked him
Should
inside.
have teabagged him before you left. I would
The
have.
cops came and he was finally arrested. Let's just say I'm always going to be locking my doors from now on.
Oh, wait. So if the killer wasn't there, you never would have locked your door? You would have just left it wide open because you think the world is all sunshine and rainbows? Wow, what a wise guy. What a freaking wise guy. Hand clap for the wise guy. Next video of today's episode is called Old Soul Existed in My Little Sister? What in the tarnation?
It started as a normal. Me, Haley, my mom, and 6 years old, my little sister named Halia, were shopping at the grocery store. We left the grocery store, and when we got in the car, my sister wanted my mom's phone, so I gave it to her. I looked back, and she was playing Minecraft. It was quiet in the car, and my sister said something that would make me look at her different. She said, "I've been here before." I looked back at her and said, "What do you mean you've been here before, Halia?" She looked at me and said, "Like this Minecraft game. I used to live in the room with a lot of people, at least 80 to 90 people, and dead bodies everywhere." Then Halia looked back at the game playing it. As I look back straight, looking at the road, I was
Ugh.
so scared, and I look at my mom's
That would actually
face.
really freak me out
She
hearing a
was
little girl say
terrified to
that.
look at my sister. So, we didn't say anything at all halfway home. We were 3 minutes from home, and my sister did the most weird and scariest thing. She started laughing. As I was afraid to ask why she was laughing, Halia said, "Because they thought I wouldn't survive." Then she goes back to playing the game.
Ooh.
When we reach at home, I put the groceries up and I asked my mom if I could talk to her privately. My sister's sitting in my bed, still playing Minecraft.
She's the captain
I
now.
pulled my mom to the bathroom.
They're scared of her,
and locked
guys.
the door behind me. I whispered to my mom, like, who was that and what the heck is talking about? My mom replied with, I don't know. Then Halia said, I know you're curious, Haley, but just let me tell you about my life and how I survived. So stop whispering to mom about me. And next, Dana, I know it's been so long.
Oh, I'm getting
I love
goosebumps
you.
again. They're back.
Me and mom
They're
was
back
so
in the
shocked
building.
because my sister has a speech impediment and she never says my name correctly. Plus, mom turned toward me with a shocked face saying, whispering, that's your great-grandmother. She used to call me Dana. I slowly unlocked the door and opened it. Me and my mom looked at my sister. Then I say, how did you survive? She put the set down saying, well, we were on this boat and I jumped in the water. Then after that, my sister went back to normal. After that, she was so confused. She said, how did we get home so quickly?
She said, goo goo gaga.
And why are you guys staring at me?
I want breast milk, though.
My mom said, you don't remember what you said? Then she went to her playroom. Till this day,
Damn,
I
she
wonder,
said, where's my
why does
Minecraft,
things
baby?
happen to us?
Okay, that's actually creepy. It's creepy because little kids are so innocent. Like, they don't know any better. They don't know how to play tricks on you. So for her to talk like that and just like have a vivid memory of what happened in the past and how she survived or whatever, that's actually very terrifying. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Watching Scary Animations with you guys. If you want to see more of this series, make sure you guys give this video one big fat like. And tell a friend today that Jay from the Cub Scouts is that dude!